Okay, we're going to go over some of the quick trades we made today or could have made today based on what stocks went up. At least 1 million volume was in the first 5 minutes. The first one would be JAGX. This one had approximately 3 million shares traded in the first 5 minutes. We do like we have done before. We draw our lines, our Fibonacci lines, the low at here at 17, the high at 1850, and we always have to wait for consolidation before we buy and sell. In the next 5 minutes, it would have hit our goal. We would not have bought this one because it hit our goal so quickly. Um, the goal was about 5%. Now, if it had dropped down a little bit and then pierced through, we could have gotten in and made some quick money. Um, but even if we didn't buy it, we could still see that it touched our 1.618 line, came back down, and then it tried to bounce off that zero line, and it actually held it pretty well here and tried to make a late day one, but it could not pass that one. Now, when you see a stock try to pass that one for the second time and it doesn't make it, if you're still holding, just get rid of it because it's not going to make it through if it hasn't done it already. Second one was Tops. This is the one that I got into prematurely. You always want to wait for the second bar to close within that range, within this range right here. If it doesn't close within that range, then you're risking it to close below that line, which this one did. And we can also see the volume bar is a negative, and that's overlapping the positive first 5 minutes. Um, we draw lines from the top to the bottom. This goal would have been at least almost 10%, which was a pretty good run. Um, just could not do it. Let me grab my ruler tool. Yep, you're looking at 10.3%. So we got in right over here. We should have waited 1 more minute. That's what the ticker said. And it ended up closing here. And by the time it closed down here, down here, this was already there. We should have sold, cut our losses. We held on a little bit longer. We could have broken even here. But when it pierced to our stop loss at 30 cents, we just decided to get rid of it and take a small loss for the day. It tried to touch the high of day one more time. It could not get past. It almost tried the second time, but it was already too late at that point. And as you can see, it went all the way down to 22 cents. So this is a great example of, hey, by 9 o'clock, if it doesn't come close to your goal, just get rid of it and try again tomorrow. AKER, although this wasn't positive the first 5 minutes, this has been a runner for a while, for a few days now. The first bar did have about 3 million shares traded. We see a dip here. We see some consolidation here, bouncing off. Then we see a steady climb. Now, when you see the climb like this, it just means momentum is pushing back into that stock. You could have made a really quick trade if you like the risk, and probably about an 8% trade, which is not bad. But since this stock has been running for a couple of days, there are a lot of bag holders. And when you have bag holders, you have people that are willing to sell at certain limits that you don't know, and they'll probably take profit before you do. So basically, the overall arching theme for today is make sure the bars close within that range. If this bar had closed here, this would have been my gain. If it would have closed here, I would have had some more momentum pushing it to the next line. But because there's downward momentum closing it below that line, it was not going to be a buy. Even though we see it try again over here, there's just not enough volume to make a run. Overall, I do want to talk about the Dow Jones. Um, this is a weekly chart, and just visually, you can see that after November, the volume has just picked up so much more, and this is pretty much election time right here, and the volume has been carrying it all the way through 2018. Now take a note of these boxes. Look how small and pretty much linear they are. and compared to the last 2 weeks, we've seen bigger boxes and more definite boxes. The support tends to be at 24, which is sitting out right over here. And the next dip after that will be 22 and then 20. And then we could probably see 18 if it continues to drop. Now it's Monday and the negative volume is already probably a fourth way there, which means that if it happens again, then it'll probably eclipse the volume for the last week. That's it for now. Just a quick recap of today's trade, which was tops, which was should have been a no buy. We got a very small amount, so it's a very minimum loss, but it was in accordance to our protocol. So we'll take a quick loss, and tomorrow we'll hope for a bigger gain.